Hey, welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus. We're going to change this up just a little bit and let's talk to Rick and find out a lot about Rick that you may not know, even though he talks quite a bit on the show, sometimes more than other guests, I think. So,
Sometimes.
all right, Rick. So, before you got into the business, and I know that was a long time ago, what
It
did you
was a
do?
long time ago.
What did you do before? Where'd you go to school? Because I mean, I know we both went to North Central, but what else?
Right. Yeah, I grew up here in Indiana, in Indianapolis, on the northeast side. Went to Washington Township schools. North Central was the high school. Went to Eastwood Junior High and Fall Creek Elementary. They tore down Fall Creek Elementary. It's actually where the Colts came. The first place they had their practice sessions, and where it was in my old elementary school. Then I that's where I went to school. I did go to the military. I was in the Air Force. I wasn't there very long. I got hurt, tore up my leg, and then when I got back, I actually went to I took a job with Western Electric, working on a line, and I was never meant to work on a line. So I did that for 3 years, but while I was doing that, I went to IUPUI, and then I was never made also for school. I was never at school, was never my thing, and somebody had forgot to tell me that you actually had to go to class to graduate. So I decided rather than keep paying and not going to class, I'd just not go anymore, and ended up bartending for a few years, 5 years. And then I got married, and then I got into the car business, and that's where I really started, my sales career. I did even before that, something. It's so long ago, it's hard to remember all that you did. Before that, I actually bought some real estate. I had 3 rental properties with 2 other guys. We bought real estate. We were going to, they were rental properties. We had a triplex, a double, and a single, and we rented them out, and we fixed them up, and that's what we were going to do. Well, I quickly learned that's not my thing. I shouldn't own rental real estate. I can own rental real estate. I shouldn't be the landlord. I shouldn't be the person collecting rent. I shouldn't be the person doing that, which was what I was going to do because I'm not handy. So I did that. I got into new car sales. I actually loved car sales for a while. It's a fun job. There's a lot of camaraderie. I learned a tremendous amount, and it was a good learning experience. And one day, a home builder came in, and he was shopping us. And he was actually shopping one of my salespeople, because at that time I was the manager of the store. And he wanted to interview him after he came in and saw how he worked as a salesperson. He said he wanted to hire him, so he had him come up for an interview. And he told me about it, the salesperson, and I told them about it. So they called me, and I went up and interviewed, and I ended up moving to the Estridge companies as a salesperson. I worked there for 11 years. I was in new home sales, and then I was I was a vice president of sales when I left. The thing about new home sales is it's a 7-day-a-week job. You can have some weekdays off, which actually was great. Weekdays off because my kids were little, but as my kids got older, then I couldn't. Then it would be nice to have weekends free, as you well know, because you've done the same thing. So after 11 years, I switched, and really quite by accident, I switched because I really wasn't. I left the Estridge companies, went to another builder, and it just wasn't. The culture wasn't my thing, and so the person that I use for all my mortgages, my loan officer, I told him, and he goes, "Oh, don't take another job. I got this great deal coming. What is it? I can't tell you." Well, what is it? I can't tell you. Okay. So I'm waited around, and a bank was coming into town. It was brand new. I went to work for the bank as a loan officer. I was still looking for a job. Okay. For being new home sales. but I actually found out this is exactly what I would love to do. I enjoyed it. It was phenomenal. I did extremely well. And so it was like, didn't take long and I was no longer looking for another job. I just loved what I was doing. And I have the whole time. Financing is one of those things that I happen to really enjoy. And I like the mortgages. And then after you've been in it as long as I have, it took about 8 years. And I remember reading something. His name was Malcolm. I can't remember his last name, or maybe that is his last name. But he said it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert.
Yep.
Right. And I remember it was like I must have hit that 10,000 hours because I thought I knew a lot. And all of a sudden one day I was like, wait a minute, I get it all now. And it was amazing. Not that you still don't learn. There's plenty of things to learn, but always learning.
Yeah. I mean, the market fully changes. I mean,
yes.
You got some loans here, you got some loans that you do at this time. And then what is it? We had some loans that during COVID got shut off. And everything changes.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you went through the 2008 through 2010 where our whole industry changed.
Yeah.
We got more regulated. We could only do certain things, only count certain things. So yeah, you had to keep learning.
Yeah. Well, and there were lots of products that, like you said, go away. You know, you have a product and it's going along and that goes away and you got something else. And that's just the way it is. And we've seen that over and over. It's why as the markets change, I'm used to it. And I know it's not something that you have to adjust to them, but I've adjusted to them before. So it's not that difficult.
Yep. No, it's always nice when I ask you a certain question. I'm like, is this normal? You'd be like, well, it used to be, but we don't see it as often as we used to.
Yep.
Sort of deal. So,
yep.
So what would you consider, I'll ask your question, your superpower?
Yeah. Well, I don't tell everybody, but I fly.
Yeah.
Normally in my car.
You fly downtown Carmel? I'll let those cops know.
Don't tell them. They're all friends of mine. They're all friends. No, it's one of those things where number one, I think that probably my biggest superpower is I have a very, very high sense of urgency. And I think that most things that you're really like your superpower can also be your kryptonite. Okay. In the right times, it's a superpower, and sometimes it's your kryptonite. But everything has to be done right now. I can't wait for anything. Everything has to be done. And sometimes that gets me in trouble, but the vast majority of the time it really helps because I communicate quickly back with people. I can't let time go by and not get back with somebody. And if I miss something, it just drives me crazy. So I think that's probably the number one. I think communication is another one because I've done sales for so long. Everybody says it's sales, and most people get the idea that sales is like we see in the movies or like we see on TV, but it's really not. Sales is about relationships, and it's about building relationships, and it's about communicating with people. And I really try desperately to listen to what they want, listen to even what they don't say, right? Read in, and then give them, as you and I do, because we've talked about it, we work on it, is give options. Because sometimes the options you give people don't know what they don't know. They don't know what's available. So my job is to make sure I show them the options that work in the areas that they're looking to accomplish, right? And sometimes it could be a little different than they told me, but I could by what they said, I knew there might be some interest there. Other times they end up exactly with what they want. So I think that is something that I do really well. I'd consider that a superpower. I think another one would be that I'm able to figure most things out. I can't figure everything out, but I'm able to figure most things out. So if I have a difficult file or somebody has a difficult file, the vast majority of the time I can figure out how to make it work, whether it may take some time, may have to do some, and it's not that I do anything wrong. It's just that I know the rules. I understand the rules. I know who to talk to if I don't know the rule to get the right answer, and then figure out how to make it work. And usually it's an underwriter. So you show the underwriter why my thought on how we can make it work is actually a legitimate reason to make it work and a legitimate way to make it work.
Yeah.
I know you asked for one. I gave you 3, but I could give you more if you want.
This is Rick in a nutshell, people. This is Rick in a nutshell. All right. So what would you, for most people out there, that some people have worked with you before, some people don't, what would something that people would not know about you that you don't do here at work, but you on your free time?
On my free time. Well, they all know I love cars, if you can't tell by all the signs that are up and behind me, okay? Because I've collected signs. I love cars. So that isn't something most people don't know. But I mean, I kind of feel like I'm pretty open book on most things. My kids are all grown. My youngest is 30. My oldest is 38. So they're not around. They're not home. So it's just my wife and I. My wife really doesn't like to travel, so we don't do traveling. We stay at home. We enjoy, we remodeled the house the last couple of years, and so it's really nice to just be at home. We love being at home. We have a huge screened-in porch now, which is, where we spend our time when it's nice weather. We have a huge front porch. When there's no bugs, we can sit out there. But really, once we put on the screen porch, that's where we sit. And then I like to work. Okay, so my free time, you always ask the question. So if we took your phone away from you, we did this. Okay, well, first of all, I'd be looking for my phone, and most of the time on a Saturday, you'll find me at least in the morning, 99% of the time, sitting at a desk and at my house working. But I'm doing the things that I really enjoy, like editing videos or our podcast or something that I really enjoy doing. So that's what I like to do. And then I also I bought an electric bike a couple years ago. I absolutely love going riding on my electric bike.
So what you're telling me is you give people the best possible deal so they don't hit you while you're riding your electrical bike.
Most people won't hit me because I'm usually not. Well, I'm usually on the bike paths, but I really prefer to ride on the road. So I usually go out in the country and I ride on the roads, or even in the city. I like to ride through some of the neighborhoods. I like to, you ride through, you see the houses, you see houses come up on the market. A lot of times I'll see people I know, I'll see people I financed. Or maybe sometimes I'll ride through the neighborhoods I sold when I was at the builder. And so you see even some of those people from years ago are still in the houses, and I financed them now. So I just like to go out and do that. And then, twice a week I do work out. I have a personal trainer. I work out, and that's been a unbelievable. One of the things that I've learned is that when you're getting older, I watched my dad as he got older, and he just lost mobility, and he couldn't really lean down and touch the floor. If you dropped something, it was difficult. My dad loved cowboy boots, and he had to quit wearing cowboy boots because he couldn't get them on and off. Really couldn't get them on anymore. He'd get them off because he had a boot pull, but and what I found is if you're getting older and you think it's just because of age, it's not. It's just from lack of use. Not that you get everything back, but it's from lack of use. So I encourage everybody, get out there and work out. I have a bad knee. Like I said, I was injured in the military, and I have a huge scar in my knee. They took out my cartilage. They sewed up my ligaments. And so I've always thought it was my injury. It's not. Well, some of it's my injury. My left leg, which is the injured one, is still not as good, but it's just one of those things. So that's something that, I just encourage people, get out there, and getting old is not meaning that you can't move and get around. I ride my bike. It's an electric bike, but I'll ride sometimes 30, 40 miles in a day.
Yeah, but it's still the motion of still moving. And like you and I have talked about this. I mean, let's be honest. Our job is a lot of sitting at a desk.
Yes, it is.
So if you're not using your muscles and everything, and then let's be honest. All right, you get up, you get in your car, you drive home, you sit at home. I mean, I got kids. I might run around a little bit but then you're sitting on the couch, because it's at night. So all right, you got to move. You don't realize the muscles you stop using when you just have a sit down office job. Now, if you're a construction worker, good job. Yeah, you're getting tons of exercise.
Yeah. But the other thing is when you work out, you can't sit very long.
No.
You have to get up.
You start getting restless.
Yeah, and your legs start to hurt and you tighten up. So, yeah, it's really important that you get out, you move.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, Rick, thanks for joining me on my several questions I wanted to ask.
Yes,
and
you're welcome.
Letting people get to know you. And how would they get a hold of you, though?
The best way is hardworkingmortgageguy.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguy.com. All of my contact information is there. Or you can give me a call at 317-218-9800. That's 317-218-9800. And if you get a hold of me, I'll do my best to get back with you as quick as possible and answer all the questions, or at least if I can't answer them, which is unlikely, I will definitely find out the right answers for you.
All right. And continue to follow us on Indy's Real Estate Gurus.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Rick Ripma's NMLS number 6645890. Ian Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.